Hey, what's up, everyone? It's been a super long time, like 6 months, because the movie theaters hasn't been open. But now the theaters are open as of last Friday. I'm excited to go watch movies in the theater again, and I have a review of one that just came out, Peninsula. But before I get into that, for those of you in Hawaii wondering about how safe the movie theater experience is in this time of this corona pandemic, I will say this: I believe that the consolidated theaters have done as best as they can given the circumstances. Hand sanitizing everywhere, plexiglass, no cash transactions, social distancing, wiping on the seats. So I think they've done as good as they can. So I will say this: if you're comfortable right now going out to a restaurant and eating at a restaurant, you'll probably feel comfortable at the movies. What I do is I intentionally wait to the last minute to buy my tickets so I can see what tickets have already been assigned, what seats, and I will pick the seats farthest away from anyone as possible. So probably best to go to a matinee when it's less crowded. And yeah, just try to sit as far away from anyone as possible. The theater that I was at, there was maybe like 8 to 10 people in the theater besides my wife and I, and we were a good 30 feet away from anyone else. So yeah, again, I know everyone's has different levels of sensibility to this whole corona pandemic, but like I said, if you're currently comfortable eating out at a restaurant, you probably feel comfortable at the theater. So that being said, now it's a new chapter for MC on film after a 6 month hiatus. Got a new camera, a new mic, so hopefully this looks and sounds better, but the content hopefully will be as better as well. So here we go into my review of Peninsula. So Peninsula is the sequel to the mega successful South Korean zombie film Train to Busan. This film, Train to Busan, basically came out of nowhere. No one really knew anything about it. Zombie films, been there, done that, right? But no, hell no. Train to Busan was a freaking awesome hit globally. It was intense, had great acting, great storyline, great zombie action, which is kind of crazy because we've seen zombie movies for like decades and decades now. So it was really hard to bring something fresh to that movie. But Train to Busan did. It was one of my favorite films of that year, my top 10 for that year. So of course I was looking forward to Peninsula because it's a sequel to that great film. Peninsula takes place 4 years after the events of Train to Busan, and that's pretty much the only tie-in between the two films. Brand new cast, brand new story. The zombies have now pretty much taken over the Korean peninsula. All the residents have been evacuated to Hong Kong, Japan, neighboring countries. So, but then this one group of Koreans are hired by this Hong Kong mafia to go back to Korea and steal some money from some money trucks which have been abandoned because, of course, no one needs money now in Korea. But in order to do so, of course, they must fight through the zombies and bring that money back. I'll start by saying this movie was a major, major disappointment because when you go to a movie that's a sequel to Train to Busan, you're expecting great zombie action. But the zombies in Peninsula are shockingly not even part of the main story. They're just part of like a secondary villain, if you will. The main story is about this heist, trying to steal this money from these post-apocalyptic gang, kind of like a Mad Max kind of thing. And you know, the zombies again are a secondary character. They're basically like a nuisance, an obstacle, if you will. They're not really the main nemesis of the movie. And I thought that was a major mistake because, you know, coming off of the hit Train to Busan, you're kind of expecting more, but with a fresh twist. And it's been 4 years since they've, you know, taken over the country. So you would think that these these zombies might have evolved, mutated, and whatnot, something new. But instead, they chose to focus on this heist element, which is pretty dumb because we've seen that also many times before. We've seen it 1,000 times, you know, post-apocalyptic gangs, you know, trying to steal money from them or trying to take over their power, and it's stale. And had they brought something fresh to that story element, it might have worked, but they didn't. It's still the same thing. So yeah, I was just kind of like the first hour of this movie, I'm like, when is a zombie shit gonna happen? And the zombie action that they do have, it's so much CGI. In the first movie, it was super intense because the zombies were all on this one train with the people, and you had this really intimate setting, and that's why it really built up the intensity of the drama, and you had great storylines and characters to go along with that. And the zombies, I believe, were all pretty much practical effects. They're real people in zombie makeup and attacking these humans, whereas this time around, it's obvious CGI, and the zombies are basically there to just be like run over by various vehicles. And that happened in the first action scene. Okay, well, we'll see where it goes. And then it happens again in the second scene, the third scene. So basically the zombies are just like cones in the road. We just run them over. And they didn't present any kind of threat whatsoever. The zombies are not scary at all, and that was just a major disappointment because you go into this film once again expecting great zombie action. The cast was a big bore. The first movie had Gong Yoo, Korean pretty boy. They replaced him with another Korean pretty boy, Kang Dong Won. What Kang Dong Won is not in the same league as Gong Yoo in terms of acting. Kang Dong Won, I never cared for him to be honest. I've always found him to be kind of bland, no personality, no charisma, and of course it happens again here. He's an emotionless character, and at times when he does try to emote, I just didn't buy it. The rest of the supporting cast I didn't care about as well. Whereas in the first one you had Gong Yoo, you had Ma Dong Seok, a couple other like a great villain. The villain in this time around is just some weak ass, high voiced kind of ninny kind of guy. I'm like, what? He's the main bad guy? And then I don't know. It was really bad. And there was no threat whatsoever throughout the film. I was bored throughout the movie. No zombies, CGI. This wasn't a great movie, so definitely not worth leaving your house to go to the theater to watch. Wait for it. If you really want to see it, you can wait for it on streaming services. So for me, Peninsula gets a 4 out of 10. Like I mentioned before, this is the beginning of a brand new chapter for MC on Film. I'll be continuing to review new movies as they come out, but I'll also be reviewing old school kung fu movies as well. So that's a work in progress right now, so keep an eye out for that. It's going to be lots of fun. So if you have not subscribed to my channel, MC on Film yet, please do so by subscribing on that button right there and like this video for more in the future. Thanks.